On the morning of November 12, 1930, a fur trapper walked into a village where 2,000 people had lived for over 100 years. Every house was still standing, every meal was still on the table, every fire was still burning, but every single person was gone. No bodies, no footprints, no witnesses. This is the story of Anjikuni. And what investigators found there changed everything. Welcome back to Wisdom Chronicles, where we uncover the world's most mind-bending true stories. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear has been investigated by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the FBI, and historians for nearly a century, and no one has ever been able to explain it. Let me take you to a place called Lake Anjikuni, deep in the frozen wilderness of northern Canada. In 1930, it was home to a small Inuit community. Hunters, mothers, elders, children, people who had survived in this brutal cold for generations. They were a tough people. They knew every inch of this land. They didn't get lost. They didn't disappear. Until they did. The story begins with a man named Joe LaBelle. Joe was a fur trapper, a quiet man who had hiked these trails for years. He knew the Anjikuni village well. The people there had fed him, sheltered him, even called him a friend. So when a brutal snowstorm hit in November 1930, Joe trudged through the snow, expecting hot food, warm fires, and laughter from the children. What he found instead froze him in his tracks. Smoke was still rising from the chimneys, but there was no sound, no barking dogs, no voices, nothing. He called out, silence. He walked into the first hut. A pot of caribou stew was still hanging over the embers, half cooked. Sewing needles were stuck mid-stitch in a fur coat. A child's toy lay on the floor as if dropped, but there were no people, not one. Joe ran from house to house. Same story, every house abandoned, every meal interrupted, every door wide open. Then he saw something that made his blood run cold. Outside one of the huts, Joe found the village's sled dogs, 7 of them, buried under a snowdrift. They had all starved to death, tied to their posts, just feet away from food. The Inuit never let their dogs starve. These dogs were their lifeline, their family. And then it got worse. When the Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrived to investigate, they found something at the village graveyard that no one could explain. The graves had been dug up, but not by animals. The stones were stacked neatly to the side. The graves had been opened with care, as if by human hands, and the bodies inside gone. 2,000 living villagers vanished. The dead also vanished. And then one more detail emerged. Several witnesses in nearby villages reported seeing a strange glowing blue light moving across the sky the night the village disappeared. A light, they said, that pulsed like a heartbeat. The Inuit have a name for it. They call it qaumaniq. Translated, it means the light that takes. In their oral traditions, this light has come before, and every time it comes, people disappear. So what really happened? Over the decades, investigators have proposed dozens of theories. Let me walk you through the 3 most chilling. Theory 1, mass migration gone wrong. Some historians argue the Inuit may have abandoned the village due to famine, but this doesn't explain the half-eaten meals, the starving dogs, or the empty graves. Theory 2, a government cover-up. Canadian historian Lyle Blackburn discovered that records of the Anjikuni case were sealed for over 50 years. Why? What were they hiding? Theory 3, the unseen visitors. The case that even seasoned investigators refused to talk about. In 1959, nearly 30 years after the disappearance, a hunter named Armand Laurent and his 2 sons reported seeing a large, cylindrical object descending over the same area. They described it as a silver tube, soundless, with windows of light. 2 days later, RCMP officers showed up at their cabin and told them, and I quote, "Forget what you saw, tell no one." The Laurent family stayed silent for 20 years. Only on his deathbed did Armand finally tell his story. And the most haunting part? To this day, 95 years later, no descendant of the Anjikuni village has ever been found. Not one. They simply vanished. So what really happened that cold November night in 1930? Was it migration, a cover-up, or something not from this world? I want to hear what you think. Drop your theory in the comments. And if this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe, because Friday's story is even more disturbing. I'll be revealing a true case where an entire ship's crew vanished mid-Atlantic, and the captain's log had one final terrifying entry. Until then, keep questioning everything. This was Wisdom Chronicles. The truth is stranger than we were told.